into a more effective way. So this is the preamble. And this preamble has been very well dealt in the national education policy almost all through, and particularly in the first 10 sessions, 10 sections, 9 sections of national education policy. This is often repeatedly told. And in higher education section, it starts from section number 9. In section number 9 itself, the preamble starts with that. And then section number 11 deals it with a greater depth. And then section number 12 very, very strongly advocates about this present examination system, and strongly advocates against this present examination system. So under affiliating constraints, for some 1 or 2 more years, which still we have got to go along, what best can we do? Let us try to see what best we can do in the coming slides. What has happened is our whole aim has been upon preparing for examination, and learning has definitely taken a backseat. What is preparing for an examination? Preparing is just make ready for use, or make ready for consideration. If I put it in a very lighter way, in our days, we used to go to see our prospective wife, prospective fiancée. At that time, the parents of the girl would prepare her, make her presentable, so make her look more beautiful on that day. And then they would present this girl when the boys go there. That is what is preparation. But the girl is born some 20 years ago, and the culture has been conceived all over these 20 years. How she has come up all those 20 years would decide how she would go after the marriage. That is more important. But preparation does not really make anything possible. Preparation is ultimately possibly fooling somebody on that day. So similarly, even in examination, when parents ask the students should really get prepared, they are indirectly telling the teachers, when they tell that you should prepare very well for the examination, they are indirectly telling you should be successful in fooling the examiner only on that day. And once you fool him on that day, your life is made. That is what is the preparing. So preparing is make ready for use, for consideration. That's all. Make ready. We keep the things ready. Like I am preparing these slides to deliver this lecture. Like a surgeon would ask the nurse to prepare the operation theatre. See, that is an appropriate word there. Keep the operation theatre ready. Prepare the operation theatre. Like a mother would ask the daughter or young son to prepare the dining table before all of us would sit on the dining table. That is perfectly right, preparing. But unfortunately, we extend the same word, like prepare for joint entrance examination. All coaching centers in Lucknow or in Allahabad or anywhere will have that prepare for the joint entrance examination, prepare for NEET examination, prepare for GATE examination. And in fact, there are centers to prepare you for even IAS examination, other public service examinations also. Prepare for public service examination. Okay, so all our bureaucrats are prepared examinees sometimes. That's all. Okay, so prepare for public service examination. Such a preparation surely has a very, very temporary effect. Okay, so it is preparing is preparation on what to answer, not how to answer, what to answer. If this is a question, what to answer, right? And that is what is the preparation, what to answer. What to answer is like perfection in replication. In other words, it is rote learning. It just stresses upon you to remember the thing. Therefore, it compels you to get into rote learning. Perfection in replication. It is a lookup table. So there is a lookup table, like a bank clerk. He would just look into the lookup table and tell how much interest you have got to pay. Like any businessman who looks into a lookup table and tells how much the customer has got to pay. So it is a lookup table approach. So it is definitely memorizing. Memorizing itself is an interesting art. Some people have different mechanisms to memorize. So memorizing becomes important. That is what is preparing for an examination. So preparing insists and confirms that learning would definitely take a very backseat. On the contrary, what is important is learning. So learning is the process of new understanding. See, understanding has got to happen, and every time you learn, it has got to be a new understanding. It has got to be a new dimension. It has got to be a new truth which is getting unfolded. It is not the same truth which it has got to unfold a new depth of understanding. It has got to take us to a new venture, new field. That is what is the new understanding. So learning is a process of acquiring a new understanding, a novel understanding. Learning is a process of acquiring the knowledge. Learning definitely relates to your behavior later. Learning is also picking up the right skills to implement the knowledge. So behavior ultimately leads to the learning of values, leads to the learning of attitudes and deciding the preferences. So these are making the choices. These are all the outcome of learning. So learning is possible only when understanding is complete. All right. So the ethics, the values, the ability to communicate, the ability to share, the ability to understand, appreciate others' knowledge, all would happen because of learning, not because of preparing for an examination. Okay. We should respect all our peers also. But in examination, surely we will respect them if we have got to copy something from my neighbor. But after the results, we don't like anybody to have scored more than what I have scored. I should be always on the top. So this is very ununderstandable, which happens because of the rat race, which is also because of preparation in the life. Whereas learning always respects everybody. Learning always ensures that you have understood. So an understood man is a perfect man. A man who understands definitely will become a perfect man. In fact, sometimes I very strongly tell about these private institutions also, which will just display telling that our college has got so many ranks. So that is a selling trend. That's an advertising trend. So that trend is only to impress that if you join us, you will get rank. Nowadays, you have seen the results of JEE have come, and all the newspapers first 2-3 pages are filled up with only JEE top rankers, and that's all claimed by these preparatory institutions. These institutions tell that if you join us, you will get all India rank number 1, all India rank number 10. So in what way it is learning, I still do not understand. Okay, I have my own reservations. But then this is what is learning. Okay, learning is an ability. It enables devising a solution to a problem. It does not give an answer to the problem. It enables you to create an answer, to devise a solution to a problem. In contrast to what to answer, so it enables to you to become a perfect designer of an answer to a solution to the problem. So it is a creative understanding. So the creative understanding requires assimilation. Assimilation is gathering all of them together, churning it and putting it in the right format within ourselves so that we have really understood the whole thing. Then it is internalizing. It should become part of our breathing. It should become part of our thinking system. So it is internalizing. So assimilation, internalization, and inculcation. Assimilating, internalizing, and inculcating are the characteristic features of creative understanding. Our students should really understand whether they have been practicing these three or simply rote learning because of the point of examination. Okay, that is what is the difference between creative understanding and preparing for an examination. I will just give a very simple example. Very simple example. Everybody can understand that. So the moment I ask a question, what is 7 plus 7? Immediately the smart candidates will tell it is 14. So immediately telling that it is 14 is definitely the outcome of preparation, not the outcome of understanding. Okay, so 7 plus 7 is 14, sure. It is a lookup table approach. It is from memory. On the other hand, the candidate who has understood the problem would reinterpret the problem in the following way. If what is added to 7 makes it a number like 10, and that intermediate from 10 going up to any state or moving from that state to the next state becomes very easy, then what he will do, he will decompose this 7 as 3 plus 4, 3 plus 4, because he knows that by bringing in this 3 with this 7, it becomes 10, and it is a very important intermediate stage, and 10 makes the things very comfortable, either to add or to delete later. So 7 plus 3, he pairs it up, it becomes 10, and then he easily adds 4, then it becomes 14. So this is the understanding. Whereas the moment you tell 7 plus 7, respond immediately like a calculator. 14 is a lookup table approach. Okay, so understanding, perhaps it takes this path. Not necessarily this is the only path, but this is one of the paths taken by the person who has understood the situation. You can easily make out the difference if I gave a little more complicated problem like the 7 plus 9. So immediately the person who has understood, the intelligent person, reverses the problem. It is not 7 plus 9, he makes it 9 plus 7, because 9 is closer to 10. 9 is closer to 10. So he prefers adding 7 to 9. 9 is closer to 10, and he makes 9 10 by bringing 1 from this 7. So 9 plus 1 plus 6. So 10 plus 6, it becomes 16. That is what it does. And this example should convey to all teachers what has got to be taught, how it has got to be taught in the class, and all students should understand that understanding is more important, because it can solve any problem. It is not only knowing the answer for 7 plus 7, it is knowing the answer for any A plus B. That is what is more important in learning. That has got to be the outcome of learning. Okay, all right. So now, what is understanding? Naturally, understanding is the ability to understand and the ability to comprehend. Okay, so this is think about it. Understanding is think about it. In fact, I can give many examples. You can see in the examination, even much before the question paper is given, people are ready with the pen. Pens are already open. And in fact, there are many students who, even without the question paper being given, would start writing in the last page of the answer book the by-hearted theorems or by-hearted formulae, so that he should not forget them. So question paper is still not given, and people would start writing in the answer book. So that is, where is the point in thinking about it? And in fact, some of our friends, student friends, do not even read the questions fully. They are so quick to read the key phrases in the question and they start writing. And that's what, but then understanding, learning requires think about it, think, and then use the concepts, and then deal properly and adequately. This is what is understanding. We don't do this at all, and neither any of them is expected in our examination question papers also. None of them is really wanted. The most interesting question in the examination question paper is write short notes on. So it simply tells, don't think about it. Whatever you know, you simply write it. That's all. And that is all is expected from you. And I also don't give you full marks, but I will also not give you very low marks. That is the whole understanding way. The questions like write short notes on. But on the contrary, learning implies that you should have the ability to think about it. So when a candidate is thinking about it, even that thinking process itself should be assessed. We have not built in any model to assess, to evaluate that thinking process which is happening amongst the students or within the brain of a candidate. Then how is he using the concepts? No, we don't want it. We finally want only the final answer. I'm very sure examiners will understand. So when there is a problem, they will look at the final answer. If the final answer is correct, almost immediately they give the full marks and go to the next page, turn to the next page for evaluation. They don't even look at the steps. If by chance final answer is not correct, then they may, some examiners may go back to the previous step, to see to up to what level he has done it correctly. But otherwise, we don't even look into it. So we have got to really see how the concepts are employed by the candidate, how the concepts are being built. So there is no point in making him memorize. In fact, you should supply the entire material and ask such a question that he has got to build the answer upon that entire material. So, and deal properly and adequately. Okay, so it is always learning is incremental. It starts from one small end and then add up one more layer and then add up one more layer. Whole learning is like the ripples in river, ripples in water, that it is like concentric circles. First you learn the smallest radius circle, then be perfect with that, and then increase the radius, and then slightly increase the radius, slightly increase the radius. That is what is incremental learning and incremental understanding. So incremental learning will definitely ensure progressive learning. Learning becomes progressive, and naturally assimilation also becomes very easy. Assimilation is today whatever is the input, based on whatever I have enmeshed already till yesterday, the knowledge plus today's input will make it a new knowledge. So the yesterday's knowledge morphing into a new knowledge with the incremental addition of knowledge today is far easier than a one go learning. No? That is the reason why the whole learning is called incremental learning or progressive learning. It moves from a known start point, very known start point, and then gradually it should take you to a very unknown end, which is the novelty, which is the goal. That is the goal of learning. That is what has got to happen. In fact, such a storytelling has not been possible. At least I have not seen as a student, and I have hated all my BE days as a student because no teacher was good enough to do this, except some few teachers. No teacher was good enough to tell the story. Storytelling thread was never maintained in the classes. All classes ultimately said, okay, this will give one question. So till now I have completed 4 questions. Till now I have completed 3 questions. Even today, nothing different. Even today, many teachers do that. Many teachers tell that, oh, I have now completed 4 questions. You should be very comfortable. You should at least get 60 marks now. I have completed for 60 marks, at least 70 marks. These have become the targets. And these targets have been strongly condemned in the national education policy. I am very proud of this national education policy because at least after 70 plus years, India has understood the folly of it, and India is thinking in creating a greater India where India understands. And because India understands, India shines. And once it starts shining, nobody can prevent its glittering ability. All right. So now a teacher, this particular slide is definitely not offensive, but I wanted to include this slide. Yesterday I was thinking, shall I put this slide or shall I not put this slide? But finally I decided I shall put this slide. It is not offensive. People should not take it, should not get offended, but it is very necessary. A teacher should first be clear. First, he must be very clear on why should this be taught. Today, if you are teaching Kirchhoff's voltage law, then you should know why should this be taught. Today, if you are teaching thermodynamics first law, then you should know why should this be taught. I don't think many of us, when we were young teachers, we were able to think about it. Why should this be taught? So that why should be very clear to me. Why should this be taught? And this is next line is more offensive in quote mark. What should be taught is known to me. And most of us, some of us may not even know what has got to be taught today. What should be taught is known. Assuming what should be taught is known, I should at least go to the class preparing why should this be taught, because I should be able to answer a question why it has got to be understood by a candidate. Why is it necessary in completing the requirements of this particular course which I am teaching? So why should this be taught should be clear to the teacher, assuming what has got to be taught is definitely known to the teacher, and he has got to plan how, when, and where the candidate has got to be triggered, how it has got to be done, when this point has got to be brought in, where this point has got to be introduced, at what point it has got to be introduced. These are all to be planned. So teacher's job, that is the reason that it becomes 24/7. It is not looking into the old notes before 10 minutes before the class. It is planning the execution, planning the performance, planning your delivery in the class in the next 1 hour, planning how the practicals have got to be conducted, planning how the discussion has got to be carried out. And this planning is not just by looking into notes, or is not just by looking into Google, or is not even just looking into an extraordinary textbook. They are all looking into textbook is because of these reasons, why and what. But then how, when, and where has got to be solemnized, picked up, practiced by you only, by us only. Naturally, that is where we have got to look at some great teachers. We have got to learn from the great teachers' experiences. In the beginning of our life, we should be able to emulate them, and later we should build up our own ways of how, when, and where we can spark the kindles. In fact, one has got to understand any sincere effort by any good teacher certainly shall be appreciated by any student. Of course, he may not appreciate up to the examination or up to the completion of the course, but in the life, he would remember the efforts of a sincere teacher who would have put in his best efforts to decide how, when, and where, more than what has got to be taught. What is only the content, but then the content has got to be understood. Content has got to be experienced. Okay, I'll give a very, very simple example. You just ask a lady, any lady at any age, a married lady, a very simple question. How were you received by your mother-in-law on your first day of arrival to your in-law's place? The question is, how were you received by your mother-in-law on the first day of your arrival to your in-laws place? Naturally, this question has an Indian context. Now, the lady will ask you the question, is it for 20 marks? Is it for 10 marks? Or is it a 5 marks question? Or is it a 3 marks question? Or is it a 1 mark question? So if it is a 1 mark question, she will give only a 2-line answer. And if it is a 20 mark question, she does not mind giving some 10 pages answer also. So much is the experience that she has acquired. Therefore, what has happened on the first day, which is remained in her memory as an experience, not as what is by hearted. It has got inculcated, it has got implanted within her, that experience, and therefore she has been able to experience, she is able to explain that experience even when she has become a grandmother also. So that is what the learning has got to be experiential. That is what National Education Policy advocates, experiential learning. So learning has got to create that experience. Only then the learning is complete. And who is responsible for that? We, the teachers, are responsible, because we have got to create such an environment in the class. All right. So let us introspect. Let us and compelled to memorize the whole lot of them? Yes, that is all we have been doing. Have we been successful in elevating our students to such a level that they could critically assimilate whatever they have gathered? No, not at all. Only few students on their own merit, and only few teachers who could inspire few students have been able to do, not generally, all of them. Okay, are our students augmented with such talent to acquire skills that can make things happen? No. The statistics tell that the engineers, most of the engineers are unemployable because they cannot acquire skills, and because they cannot even create skills. Okay, so are our students augmented with such talent? See, talent is more required. Skill, again, I have got to clearly make a big difference. The engineering colleges, particularly the private engineering colleges, particularly before the so-called campus interview, bring so-called skill experts to train the students in so-called skill efficiency. I really do not understand. Okay, the skill is something which is inborn, the skill is something which is inherent, and that's what you have got to make them realize, that that skill has got to be polished. What is really the skill? Skill is the internal or the intrinsic ability of a person to do what? To transform the knowledge into action, into performance. We go to a very skillful surgeon when we have got to undergo a surgery. We go to a very skillful doctor. He definitely has the knowledge of, he has got a rich knowledge, but how skillfully he applies this knowledge to solve your, to cure your disease, that is what is more important. Similarly, an engineer should be able to transform the knowledge into performance, into an action, into a product. That is where the skill comes. So the skill may utilize the tool set, but when we write our resume, we write the tool set as the skill set as if we possess. We write C++ is my skill set. C++ is not your skill set. C++ is a tool which is going to help, augment, support your ability to transform the knowledge. That is what is your skill set. Skill set is the intrinsic ability. We should understand these points very, very carefully. Okay, so the tool set is different. You can see in this diagram. This is tool set. What is a skill set? Skill set is the ability of transform the entire knowledge in creating these steps to go to the top of the world, to go to the top of the mountain. That is what is the total learning. Total learning makes you the knowledgeable and makes you skill enough, makes you to acquire the skills, which definitely ensures of making use of several tools to convert the rough path, rough terrain into a smooth finished path to the top of the mountain. Many teachers, on the other hand, follow this pattern. Here is a teacher and here is a student. Teachers think that they have got to jack up the student. They have got to pull up the student. This is the most incorrect model of teaching learning. A good teacher has got to stand behind the candidate, and he should push the candidate to move up. The reason is, when you are pushing the candidate to move up, the candidate knows that the remaining steps he has got to climb on his own, and nobody is there to jack him up. And also a teacher, I said, has got to stand behind, because in case in the effort of him in moving up, if he slips and falls down, the teacher should be behind to protect him from further not slipping down, and he should not lie flat on the floor. So the teacher's responsibility is also to protect such a foundation, to provide such a foundation that no student falls down flat, no learner falls down on the flat. And this model is a very, very incorrect model. The jacking up model is a very incorrect model. Unfortunately, most of the teaching, examination-oriented teaching, is only jacking up the candidates to the examination. And even the campus interview preparations are also becoming fooling the interviewer only for that day, again jacking up the candidate to perform the interview. This does not make learning a complete process at all. Therefore, what is important is act. Act is ability to critically think. Ability to critically think. So candidates should be able to think, critically analyze, carefully plan, and creatively explore. These are the properties which we have got to imbibe in a learner. Okay, so assessment has got to be on the ability to work. So we have got to check the ability of the candidate, not the final answer. So ability to work. What is work? Work is thinking about it. So you have got to have the ability to think. You have got to have the ability to assess the thinking. You have got some freedom called conducting the sessionals or internal marks. And even there, we apply the same examination pattern. even the sessions become mini examinations. At least can we not stop them being mini examinations? I don't think any vice chancellor or I don't think any university would tell that even sessionals should be conducted like an examination. You can have your own method of assessment. You give them creative problems. You give them the design problems. You give them the small group work. Let each group be 4 or 5 members and watch them how they are thinking, how they are creating, how they are carefully planning the answer, how they are implementing the solution, how they are carrying out the execution, and how they are really performing, and how they are executing, how finally they should be able to reproduce. Again, second time they have got to reproduce with some other situation, with some other data. That is more important. So if many people would solve for one particular problem. If I change the data, somehow it is not working, sir, they tell that. But they have got to demonstrate that the model can be reproducible model. Okay, so then you have got to see whatever they have built in the whole process, thinking, creating, planning, implementing, how much have they internalized it? It is not to score marks, it is to internalize it. How much have they internalized it? And then how much can they be useful in developing themselves and in developing the others and developing the entire nation? This is what is the work. This is what is the assessment. So we can redesign at least our sessionals in this way, in a different way. And the ratio which has been recommended by AICTE, now unfortunately AICTE has relaxed that ratio. The earlier ratio which AICTE was recommending, that 1:15, is more than ample to do such an observation. Very, very delicately, very powerfully, and we can ensure that we can make use of these. Even the constraint like the examination system of university can be cut down by observing, by creating the sessional evaluation in a different way. So we, instead of making it a writing examination, we should make it a creative mini activities, several mini activities of problem solving. And when they are solving the problem, the teachers should be able to understand all these spokes, and only then the candidate has got to be assessed. The advantage here is, if there is a spark, you give away a lot of marks. The spark has got to be seen, not the same replicated answer, not the carbon copy of the answer. Okay, so assessment has got two nature. Number one, planning and execution. Therefore, you convert all your sessionals, so-called sessionals or so-called internals, into planning and execution activity. It is not necessary that he has got to answer the test in 1 hour. You can give him 1 week, you can give him 10 days, no, absolutely no time, no problem. You give him 10 days, you give him 15 days. Observe how the whole group does the planning and executes. So planning and execution. Any engineer, when he takes up the job, most of the young engineers will be involved with only this work of planning and executing. Planning and executing definitely takes a lot of time. That is more important, and there has got to be freedom about the time here. It is not under the constraint of time. Whereas the so-called examination should be able to simulate the crisis. Unfortunately, our examination do not simulate the crisis because students are very well prepared for the questions given in the examination. Every question given in the question paper should definitely bring out a crisis. In fact, a student should be able to sweat over there and start thinking what has got to be the answer. He has got to plan. A good person who can handle the crisis sees the presence of 30 seconds, even if the problem has got to be solved within 1 minute. Sees, he has got that ability to see that there is still 30 seconds available for me to plan the execution, and then I should execute in the next 30 minutes. That is what is crisis handling. So the examination, so-called examination, has got to become the method of creating this crisis and seeing how the crisis can be handled by the candidate. Our question papers should be like that, but anyhow, I shall not speak about the question paper because many of you may not become the question paper setter. Some of you, only seniors, would become the question paper setter. But unfortunately, in the affiliating system, even the best question paper setter has several constraints to see that average person should pass the examination, a lot of other constraints. So I shall not get into it, but the examination has got to be simulating the crisis, whereas real assessment of learning happens because of planning and execution. A real learning and a real understanding would enable a candidate to handle the crisis also. But the failure to handle the crisis is not a failure. He is knowledgeable, but still he has not been able to extend that knowledge, recall that knowledge in solving a crisis, which definitely will be picked up by him with a lot of experience in the days to come. So therefore, the failure here should not be considered as a big failure. But unfortunately, in all affiliating system, failure in examination really is a big setback for a learner. That has got to go away. That is definitely going to go away with the implementation of national education policy. So learning has got to make sure the foundation is very strong, and the foundation becoming strong ensures understanding. After the foundation becomes strong, will be having the ability to implement, which is from understanding you are going to make the things happen. So the mapping happens from understanding and trying the things which is happening. So the making the things happen ultimately leads to create a new knowledge which is creating. That is why in a typical BTech program you should have theory component, and then you should move on to the happening component. So every paper should have the integrated composition of practical, and then so-called project work towards your final semester. There you should be able to demonstrate that you can think independently, that you are a candidate is able to generate some new contribution. So that is where creation has got to happen. So learning has got to start from understanding and then making the things happen, and then the ability to show that I can also create. That is what is learning. That has got to happen. So learning should definitely have lecture sessions, but then the national education policy now indirectly tells these lecture sessions, in contrast to 4 hours of theory classes per week, now as advocated by the affiliating system, should get reduced. Lectures, the monologues, where the teachers stand on the stage and deliver lectures and derive the equations on the board and write down everything on the board. And now the new fantasy of using the PPT and put whatever the teacher cannot remember into PPT and keep from listening comprehension to discussion comprehension to skill implementation is what is learning. That is what has got to be done. This is how the whole education, whether it is primary education or higher education or science education or arts education, more education or higher education or science education or arts education, more so engineering education has got to be planned. We have got to think seriously. We should be ready to think, because all our institutions are going to become autonomous. Even under so much of constraints, still in our classroom, in our regular, whatever is available, we can be able to implement all these 3 stages, the L and T and P. All that it requires is just a little minor modification in the way you do it. If the 4 hours theory is there, you convert theory into only 2 hours of theory, and remaining 2 hours you make it a heavy tutorial session and convert. And we always insist that the student has got to implement and he has got to pick up the skills. You can do the wonders. It all requires little mindset, little cooperation with your director, who is an extraordinarily good academician, and give him some time, and deans and director will join together and just make a small deviation in your regular practice. That makes your institution a big different institution. That makes your students from rote learners to real learners, from preparing people to learning people. That is what is very important. Therefore, change is the only permanent thing, and academic reforms have got to keep on happening continuously, all right, to create institution of excellence. So we have got to become an excellent institution, not to make our institution big, but to make to make our students international standard, world class standard in academia and research. So if unfortunately our present education system is bent upon making only identical products, similar products, there is no difference, there is no niche difference between the learners, and there has got to be a niche finish amongst the learners. Only then education is complete. Our Gandhiji also mentioned that we are producing parts, not thinkers. We just produce parts, not thinkers. They should be think parts. So they are just producing parts, not the thinkers. We don't have any hope for the individual aptitude at all in our mass education system. That's exactly what national education policy is trying to solve. Right. So ultimately, I got to tell, a corrupt education system will breed corrupt minds all around. Okay, that is very much evidence. See, we don't want to appreciate the success of somebody. We always curb the success of somebody. We always expect only we should be successful and others should not be successful. We go to temple to pray. Do we go to temple to pray for the welfare of others? We go to temple to pray for our own welfare every way. So that is what is the corruption. A corrupt system, a corrupt mindset, a corrupt education system will surely breed corrupt minds all around. And that will happen if people like us do nothing. So evil results when good men and good women do nothing. Let us do something. Okay, let us contribute. And I'm very sure we can make national education policy a great success. Thank you very much for such a patient listening. I do not know how the time flew away. I'm very sure you have been able to, you have listened to me carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your wonderful speech and wonderful knowledge you shared with us. And definitely, you told us a lot of the new education policy. And I request to the director sir that we must. Hello, director sir, are you? Hello,
I'm listening.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
sir. Please, I would request you that you must join this. You start the session, your session, and conclude the. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody, and especially to the very great person, very close to my heart, Professor P. Nageshwar Nayak, sir. Professor Nageshwar, Professor Nageshwar.
Yes, yes.
Sir,
Am I
Nagbhushan.
audible to you?
Yes, yes,
Sorry,
you are
Professor Nageshwar, am I audible to you?
Yes, I'm hearing you, sir.
Okay, I'm very grateful to you that you have accepted my invitation in a very short time and given wonderful lecture on the new education policy and continuous evaluation. When we were speaking, I was recorded what you have said in our CAS center when I was a part of LKTU. Today is the birthday of that great man, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And you have really given a very thoughtful thought on the continuous evaluation system. That time also he at least how to teach the students and how to evaluate you. I had visited many times to your institute, and the way you interacted with us in a lot of other activities, I found that all the time your emphasis is to give the knowledge to the student so that they should become a good thinker, so that they should apply their knowledge and produce good things in the form of some product or the form of something. Here also, the whole emphasis was how the new education, how the continuous evaluation system should be implemented in all the institutions is starting from the great institution to the very low level institutions. I'll not quote which institution is the great and which institution is the very low level institution. And the second thing, when I was listening you very carefully, that what the new education policies is, it is your brainchild. What you said few months back in our cash center, that is in the new education policy. 1 or 2 weeks before I read, I hope few days when we had a talk regarding the topic, I hope I downloaded the new education policy and I gone through that and I found what you were saying in the previous, what you said today also, all these things are in the new education policy. Not even only that, you implemented this continuous evaluation system in your own organization. And I know what type of efforts you have put to implement it. And now, at least I am seeing the result from 200 kilometers away from home. I assure you, as the being of this director of this college, I will try my best to implement a continuous evaluation system, not at the end semester level, because that is not in my hand, but at the sessional, that how to teach the students, how to make them to learn, how they should apply their knowledge in the form of making the things good, and more good. I have no words to add you. I only say, once again, I am saying, pranam to you from the core of my heart, because you very quickly accepted my invitations. And today morning also, you wrote on the message, okay, today we will meet virtually. And really, we are meeting virtually. And again, I will say, not good afternoon, good morning only, and wish and pray to the God that physically we'll meet either at Allahabad or at Lucknow. That's the only God. I'm very thankful to you. I'm very grateful to you that you had given your valuable time and you have delivered a wonderful lecture on the continuous evaluation. A lot of examples. My faculty members, my HODs, my deans, my very young joint secretary, Chitranshu Akwal, he's very young, he's hardly 24 years. He may have also understand and planning to implement the things in our college. And I'm thankful to my deans also, I'm thankful to my directors also, sorry, my faculty members, my students also, that they have listened to me and my director very patiently. And I thank all of you, whosoever has supported to make this webinar successful. Once again, I will say pranam to you. Very and pray to the God that we should meet physically very soon. The pandemic is iterating, and I hope and pray to the God that in 1 month it should finish and we should do the work freely as we were doing in before December 2019. That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And for your valuable thoughts and additional words for today's webinar. And I hope all the participants, their faculty members, HODs, and students, we learned a lot from the today's webinar. And definitely, we will try to apply as much as possible. And
Yes.
thank you so much, Director sir, that you planned this kind of webinar. Really tells us a lot about the new education policy. So again, thank you so much, Professor Dr. Nagbhushan sir. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.